What is the highest purpose available for you and I in this present world and life? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2, a Torah portion, Tzav, the word meaning command. We left off yesterday with the aspect of Aaron, the brother of Moshe, being commanded to fill the role of the high priest, the Kohen HaGadol. I'm sure that Aaron had a little bit of reluctance going on in his heart. After all, it was he who took the engraver's tool and made the gold calf that led Israel to sin. 3,000 people died as a result of this travesty. Maybe he felt like he had their blood on his hands. However, regardless of the guilt, the self-condemnation, the realization that though he had been told you're forgiven, that monkey on his back, the command was nevertheless given to him that he was to preside not only over the altar of sacrifice, but over all of the temple complex. When he would have approached the altar of sacrifice, at some point he would need to learn the lesson that what he was presiding over was not death, but life. Now, how can one say that? An animal is selected. It is estimated to be pure and perfect in its specimen. It's brought to the altar of sacrifice where its blood is shed, its body is prepared, its parts are laid upon an altar, and they are burned until they're completely consumed. Now, one might think that this might have been a delightful smell, something like the backyard barbecue, but when flesh and hide and bones and organs are totally consumed and burned until they become ash, then there's an acrid smoke that rises up from that, and humans find it repulsive. However, it is the heart that comes up with that smoke and the intentions of worship that is well-pleasing as a sweet aroma into the nostrils of our Creator. Aaron at some point would need to reevaluate what it was that he was watching and presiding over. This is not about death, even though it was a very bloody affair. Nevertheless, there is something more going on than what meets the eye. The animal, while it is living, it was free to roam the hills and graze or stand in the corral and be safe. It grazed, it reproduced, it grew as fat as possible regarding the environment that it was available to it. It ate all that it could. It got as large as it could be. It strove for the continuing of its existence. It lived by its animalistic instinct. Animals do instinctively just what it is that they do by the Creator's design. However, when this particular animal is selected and deemed to be perfectly worthy, then its purpose in life goes up greatly in an elevated position as being chose as an act and means, a mechanism of worship. When its blood and its fat are laid upon the altar, they don't just sizzle away in the flame. They begin to lift up a cry that perhaps can only be heard by the ears of the Creator, that of worship and exaltation to the Most High. Maybe that sounds a little far-fetched, but the shedding of the blood also speaks of life. If we remember Cain and Abel, Cain and Havel in Hebrew, and a jealous match as to who is going to become the family priest, Cain the elder rises up in his rage, strikes his brother, and slays him, buries him in the ground. Yah says that the blood of righteous Abel is crying out to me from the ground. That is, that our blood, the blood shed, has a voice. The life that is in the blood cries out for justice. It cries out for redemption. It cries out prophetically for the appearance of the Moshiach. Think of the abortion industry in America. The blood of millions of innocent babies, their lives snuffed out before they ever had a chance to live outside the womb. Their blood cries out, and a deafening roar in the spirit to a Creator to a master, to the Father in heaven who hears. This is the same one says that the widow and the orphan, they are mine, and I will repay. How much more would this wonderful Creator say, and the babe within the womb, they belong to me. Their life is given by me. The soul within them, it originates with me. I will repay. Their blood cries out. Back to the altar. So the animal in its blood being shed lifts up a prophetic cry. What is it crying out for? The word says that Yeshua was slain before the foundation of the world. So before any part of earth was ever created, Yeshua was already slain. That is prophetically stated. And as far as heaven's reality is concerned, it was a done deal, as was the resurrection. The blood of these animals, they cried out, pointing to the time that Messiah Yeshua would come and shed his blood in the behalf of Am Israel. These animals served a higher purpose than simply eating, reproducing, and living until they died. They became a mechanism of worship. So Aaron very well may have had to be commanded originally to attend the altar so that he could witness the reality of resurrection. It's not that the animals came back to life, but once he began to realize the higher calling and purposes of this altar and what it was pointing to, then with great joy he could celebrate the goodness of Yah. He could worship every time that he laid an animal's flesh on the altar. Every time that he moved throughout the temple complex, he could know who he was serving and know that he held resurrection power. As he ministered, what he was ministering to the nation was the fact life overcomes death. Life speaks louder than death. And life requires death in order for life after death to become a reality. Many years ago, while in the shower, early one morning, as I was preparing to take the shower, I heard the voice of the Creator speak to me, maybe in the white noise of the water running on me. But nevertheless, I heard something very clear that shook me. And that is to say, I heard him say to me, when something dies and then is resurrected, the resurrected version is superior to the original. I want to say that again. When something dies and is resurrected, the resurrected version is superior to the original. You and I fight to live as long as possible. It is built into our instinctive nature. We try to prevent ourselves harm or pain. When we're falling, we'll stick out our arms to break the fall. We try to measure everything to be sure that pain and death is put off as long as possible. When it comes down then to the point of death, some have found that what they were afraid of was not to be afraid of at all, nothing to fear. But rather it's simply a passing through a veil to another version of life. Those that we have loved and now seen gone from us, we sold their bodies, many of them into the ground, with the hope of resurrection. When they are resurrected, they will be resurrected to never hurt again, to never be in pain again, to never fear death again, to never grow old again. They will be immortal. Their lives will be changed. This corruption will put on incorruption. This mortality will take on immortality. And we will be raised up not in death, but in victory and in power and in overcoming. That version of us is greatly superior to the original. But you don't have to wait until you're dead and buried before you begin to hope for resurrection. The resurrection power of Yeshua, the Messiah, is available for you and I even while we live. It is resident within us through the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, so that who we are now can become superior to our original. Think on that. We'll do more with this on tomorrow. Until then, shalom.